Hi, I'm Mark, and I'm glad you're here at _Freedom for Life _. This is going to be an amazing conversation because I'm going to give you a nugget that is going to change your life forever. It's going to be around this. How do you know what God's direction is for your life? I had a friend who asked me that question. I gave him what was a very straightforward answer, but it really changed everything in his life and his perspective, and I'm going to share it with you. So let's get started, shall we? And as we're having this conversation, which by the way, I'm glad we're having together, do me a favor and do two things. First is subscribe. Become part of the Freedom family so you can be part of all these conversations. And speaking of conversations, hit that notification bell so that you are notified every time we're dropping another conversation that you may want to be a part of. So I had this friend, we were talking in fact this last week, and he had this question. He was having a major decision he needed to make in his life, and he said, you know, the hardest thing about it is understanding what God's direction is in it. He's a Christian and I'm a Christian, and because of that we want to know what God's plans are for our life. We don't want to make our own decisions or directions, not that we can't in many ways, but for those big marquee moments you really want to know, hey, is this God's design for me, or is this something I'm just trying to do for myself? And he said, that's really kind of hard to figure out. And I said, no, it's not. It's actually really simple. And I said that because of the life mastery journey that I've been on and that I teach. And he's been a part of that journey. And so what I told him, as I said, is the answer is actually really simple. It's not that hard. I said, in order for you to find out what God's direction is for your life, the first thing you understand is you need to understand your identity. In Life Mastery, I say this all the time because it's absolutely true that identity is everything. And let me unpack it a little bit, because what I tell people and how I help people grow in this is helping them to understand that, hey, as I've said in teaching and trainings and even some of these videos, hey, you're the answer to the circumstances you're walking into. What I learned from the Word and understand in my own life and my journey with God and in this life mastery journey that I'm walking in is that I am the answer to the circumstances I'm walking in. Throughout all of the Bible, what I've seen time and time over again and in my own life and the testimonies of people I know is that God never puts you into a place or gives you an assignment or takes you in a direction and then tells you to train yourself up so that you're ready for it. What he does is he plants you in places where who you're created to be, the person that you are on the inside, the gifts and talents and abilities you have, those unique things that he's crafted and created inside of you, so that those things can be used for the outcomes and the impact he wants you to have in that circumstance. And so back to my friend in that lifestyle change, that direction he's asking for, that big marquee moment in his life, what I said was this: hey, it's all about your identity. The more you understand who you're created to be, your gifts, your talents, your abilities, this whole package, this masterpiece that's got your name on it, right? It's the life you're living. The more I understand about me, the easier it is to understand what God's calling me into and what he's not. See, in many circumstances, like with a job, you know, we weigh it out by the wage or by the increase or by the responsibility or by the perks or by the title, right? We look at all of these things and we say, okay, well, if it's a better job, then it must be God. If it's more money, then it must be God, right? Or if it's a relationship, I'm looking for a spouse. Well, if they are meeting all of my needs, if they have all of those things on the check boxes of beauty and brains and all of those things that we have as our checklist for a relationship, well, then it must be God. And it's not bad to have standards and criteria. The challenge is when we use those in replacement for God. And so back to my friend in our conversation here. How do you know what God's direction is for your life? The more you know about you, the more you understand about your God. And so in his circumstance, I said, take a look at who you are, the person that you're created to be, right? All of this package that's you, a person of compassion and strength, or maybe a person of intellect and understanding, or maybe a person of organization or leadership or whatever it is. And so you in the decision and the direction you're making, do you see where who you are is a perfect fit for that circumstance, that situation, that decision? Do you see where the strengths and the abilities that you have are able to have an impact in that area? It's a huge thing to understand, but it's an easy thing to live out. The more I understand who I am, the more I understand where I'm being called to, because I can see how who I'm created to be is going to have an impact in those areas. It happened in my job where I went in for a role, a leadership role, a management role in an organization. But really what God needed me to do in that place was to bring these teachings and trainings on how to heal the hurts and how to live out your identity to people that I was overseeing. I didn't know it walking into the role, but there were people who needed those solutions that I walked into when I walked into that role. And so I found that the giftings and the talents that I had, not the ones that were on the resume and not the ones that they were advertising, but the ones that God was using for impact, were me living out who I was created to be. The more you understand your identity, the more you'll be able to determine and discern God's direction. It's a relationship. We aren't looking for God to please us, although He does, and we're not looking for Him to train us, although He will. The problem is He's not training you after you get there. He's preparing you before. And so with my friend and his circumstance, and with you and me, here's what it comes down to. The more I understand who I am, the more clearly I discern what God's direction is for my life. Because you've got an impact in the world that you're going to have. Not because you're getting more money or you're having more titles or you're having more prestige or accomplishments or whatever, but because the giftings that you have on the inside are the impact God wants to have in the world. So whatever your decision is, if it aligns with who you're created to be and the impact God's called you to have in the world, then maybe, just maybe, that's the direction God is calling you into. And at the end of the day, isn't that what we want? So my encouragement to you is this: continue to study these Life Mastery teachings we give. If you're part of the Life Mastery course, that mentoring program that we have, continue to develop who you are and understanding that, because in that place, the world will open up in so much more clarity, because you'll start to see the places that you're being called to invest, to impact, and to plant seeds for God's greatness and your blessing. If you do that, all of the rest becomes a little bit easier and a little bit clearer as you walk in this journey with God. Hey, I'm Mark. I'm glad you're here at _Freedom for Life _. Could you do me a favor? If this resonates with you, or you know somebody who needs to have this message in their life, would you share it with them? Hit the like button and give me a comment down below. Let me know in one place where you've seen God, Him, an impact through you. And if you do nothing else, dominate your day.